Well, it's a cold Sunday morning, and I'm out here working on this car. I got the front end put together. I don't know if I showed that in the last video. I don't think I did, but got it all reassembled. This piece here and this piece up here, so now I can see what I need for a radiator, which is going to be a pretty small radiator. But I should be able to find something that'll work. I went to the junkyard and found a good looking alternator. It looks like it's newer, and you know, that was 20 bucks, worth the gamble. My last junkyard alternator lasted a few years, so. And I picked up this part of the battery cable that I need. It's got this part with the fusible link, and then basically I just need to put a new cable from this point around to the starter, and this side cut off, and just put a regular top post clamp on. These are some bolts for the exhaust manifolds. Or not exhaust manifolds, they're actually headers. I got headers this time around. On my last swap I modified the factory manifolds. They're cast steel, so you can cut and weld them. This time I just thought I'd go with headers, so I'm still waiting for those to come in the mail. They were supposed to be here Friday, but they weren't. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm gonna, if I can get around to this side of the car, I got too much stuff in here. I gotta take this factory heater box piece out and take the factory brake master cylinder out. That's all gonna be removed. Alright, I got that piece removed, and I'm working on taking the brake booster off. I got all 4 of the bolts off, and it's kind of being stubborn. It's tight in there. I'm not really sure how to get it out without taking the column out, which I really don't want to do. But there's got to be a way. And I got the pedals out. Alright, so I got the brake booster out. You can see it's just a little baby master cylinder. That's not going to be good enough for me. You want to be able to stop all this horsepower. Well, yeah, it's about 100 more horsepower than the original engine right now as it sits in stock form. So definitely want to have upgraded brakes. The brakes weren't really great to begin with, so this is going to go bye-bye, and I'll have a 9-inch brake booster with a dual master cylinder. And you can see I got all kinds of room now. I think what I'm going to do, you can see how the booster is bolted to the firewall. I'm going to make a block-off plate. I'm just going to cut a piece of metal, a square shape like that, like the size of this. Actually, I can use this as a template, and then just bolt it on, maybe throw some silicone around it and bolt it on, and that'll cover up that hole. Well, it's Monday. I called in to work today and took the day off. I'm not feeling the greatest, kind of have a cold, so work on this thing. Already got some things done. I took the power steering box out. That thing is huge. That's what it looks like. So now I gotta figure out whether I want to rebuild it or upgrade to something else. Not a lot of options for these. I heard you can make a early 2000s Jeep Cherokee power steering box fit. I might look into that. Be a little more, probably a little better, more reliable. We'll see. maybe I'll just get a kit for that and figure out how to rebuild it. They don't sell remanufactured ones, unfortunately. I went to the store and I picked up a temperature gauge so I can get that installed. I took the little FM transmitter thing, whatchamacallit, I took it out. It was right there, and that's where my gauges are gonna sit, down there. This thing here is factory. It looks like an afterthought, but it's actually factory. It's the heat switches and stuff. That's gonna stay in there, even though it'll probably won't be functioning. It didn't work when the car was running and driving. I got my yoke in the mail from Denny's Drive Shaft. It's not too far from me, like maybe an hour and 20 minutes away. And I'll show you what that is. That's basically it. It's a conversion so that you can convert from that, the bolt-on, to this. You can see the end is closed in, and it's a little bit longer. That's basically it. This was like $120. A lot of money for not much, but I absolutely needed this so that I can run a regular car drive shaft on this car instead of like having a slip yoke drive shaft or like a two-piece drive shaft or something like that. So now what I'm doing is I'm disassembling the tail shaft, taking the bolts out because I need to take that out, and there's an O-ring in there that's only used for the bolt-on yoke. I need to remove the O-ring so that the slip-on yoke can move freely. So the deal is, it's Tuesday right now, and I've got a pretty bad cold, so I got sent home from work, and unfortunately I have to take a COVID test now because everything's COVID now. You can't just have a cold and be good to go. Everything's got to be overly complicated. It's a bunch of nonsense. So now I can't take a COVID test until Saturday, so I got the whole rest of the week off to mess around with the car. Unfortunately, my headers, I don't know what the deal is. I looked at the tracking and it hasn't been updated for 7 days. I'm really hoping that it's not lost, because if I had those headers I could be building the exhaust right now, but I don't have them, which is a big setback. I want to try to make good use of this time that I have off. I picked up some steel and I decided I'm gonna try to build my own bracket for the brake booster. I could save a lot of money doing that. Alright, so right there, that's the O-ring that needs to be removed so that the fluid can come down and lubricate the splines, and so that the slip yoke can move freely. I'll just rip that right off of there. It's funny, that's a brand new O-ring. I resealed this whole transmission. The slip yoke drive shafts are really not going to be ideal for this application. It'd be much better just to have a regular car drive shaft. And I couldn't find a place that would make a slip drive shaft long enough for this car, so it's got to be 60 inches long. Alright guys, end of day update. I made a little bracket for the dipstick right there, and I got my temperature gauge in. See, got threaded in there, tightened up, and there's the gauge. Alright, next day, and there's the hold down. Looks pretty good, other than the the flathead heads on them. I got the floor piece here. I drilled out the spot welds, and I'm going to use that piece up on here. Now this is from a 72 Chevy truck, the brake booster and also this bracket. It's actually from my truck when I converted it to Hydro Boost brakes. So I got these bracket pieces here. I already cut half of it off, trimmed it down because the fuse box is right here, and it wouldn't have fit with this extra piece on there like that. Cut that off, and doesn't affect the strength of it at all. It's got plenty of meat left. Okay, so I've just tacked this together here because I don't know if it's gonna fit or not, but this is kind of the idea. This should be the right amount of throw, right amount of leverage for that. It's kind of in the same spot where these were. The reason I cut these holes off is because they were too big, so it would have been too much work to like weld up the holes and re-drill it and stuff. So using the original piece, that way I don't even have to modify this part of the pedal. Be easier. But right now I'm gonna see if this is actually gonna fit. Alright, about time for an update. So I got this thing all tacked together, this box here, and this is gonna sit against the firewall, and I need to build some ears out on the side so I can use the original heat duct bolt holes and make a piece that goes up. Basically it's a big puzzle right now. It's gonna be all tacked together and then I'll fully weld it. And I had to trim this in the back, but I will be reinforcing it and putting a gusset like here and reinforcing it just to make sure it's super strong. And I took the cover off of the pedal so it doesn't get melted, and that's gonna go in like that. Well, a little tight, can't do it with, well, maybe I can do it with one hand like that. And then my plan is, maybe, since I already do need that bend to go around the steering column, since this is going to sit right smack in the center of the steering column, I might make a piece straight off, a heavy gauge piece. Where did I put that? Something of this size, 3/8 off of here. That actually might be overkill, but I'd rather it be overkill than not enough. You need brakes, and I don't want any of this stuff to fail, so I'm overbuilding everything. Make something off of here, and with a hole in it for this, so that you can push it down. Alright, it's about time for an update. Oh yeah, I got the car legal yesterday. That's cool. Ready to go for the spring. I'm just not sure what's going to happen in this world. I don't know if things are going to close down again, so I just wanted to get it on the road while I had the opportunity. But you can see I got my plate all tacked together, other than the bottom holes I need to drill. But you can see the bolts all the way around, and it kind of I had to make it kind of come out a little bit for some clearance issues under the dash. And yeah, that was a big challenge getting to this point. It took me almost a full day to get it all figured out, but you can see pretty tight to the coil, but got enough room for the master cylinder and enough room to change the coil. It'll be a pain, but there's enough room to do it without removing the booster. So yeah, now I gotta pull it apart and get it all welded up. I'll show you what it looks like under the dash. So yeah, there's what it looks like under the dash. It's hard to see, but right there's the rod and the pivot point way up there. Hard to see it, but what I gotta do is make the pedal come down and clear the column, and end up in this area somewhere. So it's gonna be a challenge, but it'll be well worth it in the end. Making good progress, getting there. Yeah, this floor is a little bit rusty. I did take the carpet out so I can work a little easier, and you can see got a little bit of rust, and you know, it's almost through right there, but it's still pretty solid, and it's not bad enough where I'm gonna do anything right now. I'll slap the carpet back in, and then down the road, you know, this car is gonna get improved gradually. Down the road, I'll probably cut this out and weld new steel in here. But for now, it's fine. My feet aren't gonna go through the floor, so I'm not worried about it. For a 1956 car that's been in Buffalo its entire life, really not bad. Everybody on YouTube thinks this car is mint, but it's not. It's a great candidate for the LS swap. It's going to be a nice, reliable, daily driver. Keep it original, whatever you want to do. You don't have to restore a car to have fun. Go through the mechanicals, drive it the way it is. And you don't need to have a restored car to go to a car show either. So many people think that their car has to be perfect to go to a car show. That is false. Alright, I got the brake booster plate all welded up, looking good. I left the welds. I don't know, I'm sure there's some other people out there that just like to leave the welds and not grind them down. I like the look of the exposed welds. Kind of shows the work that went into it. But I understand why people grind them down. It gives it a cleaner look. I just prefer seeing the welds. So I got it all, you know, sanded down, looking good. Cleaned all the BBs off, so it's all ready for paint. This little bracket here is for the steering column. Little bracket to hold it on. The old bracket was on the heater ducting here, right there. So I'm gonna paint it gloss black, and then I also picked up some steel some sheet metal to make a delete plate for the heater box. So I'm going to be pulling that off and putting a plate on there. Doesn't work anyway, and I can always add it back on later if I need to, but I want to get it out of the way and free up some room. It really takes up a ton of room. See how close it is to my coil there. It's actually might even be touching right there, so get that out of the way. Maybe someday I'll put a nice vintage air unit on here. Alright, got the plate all painted up and installed. You can see there's the bracket that holds the column in place. And it looks pretty good. Turned out good. Looks just the same as the one that you can get off of eBay. So, stick welded the whole thing. Looks alright. I got a little squirrely in a couple places, but not bad. So now I'm going to make a delete plate for the heater. So I made the delete plate here. I had it hanging up and it fell and bent it a little, so I got to fix that. And it kind of scratched up the paint, but that's alright. You can see I got the heater box removed. And I'm going to install that. Oh yeah, I'm chewing gum too. That's probably going to pick up on the camera. I always get complaints about that. I always forget that I'm chewing gum. I need to just stop chewing while I'm talking. So, going to install that. That'll give me a lot of room over here. Now I can get to that coil right there. And it'll be easier to work on the header, getting the headers in, and O2 sensors and stuff. Alright, got the delete plate for the heater installed. Looks good. I got lots of room now to make things fit, and Maybe someday I'll put a nice vintage air system on there or something, but for now that's a lot better than having the non-working heater box, big bulky thing in the way. So yeah, turned out good. The next step is to take this plate here, or the old booster bolted to, and fill in all these holes, weld plates over them, and get it all sealed up. But alright, I got this plate patched up. I just kind of tacked this piece of sheet metal on, really thin, so I couldn't really weld it all up. I just kept blowing holes through it, so got it tacked up. It's covered up. Put a couple welds on the other side too. I don't know, doesn't look great, but it's going to be covered up by the carpet anyway, and at least there's no holes in it now. Also welded up all the spot welds where the other piece was on top of it. So it's all ready to go back in. And then I just finished welding up my brake pedal bracket, stick welded. I gotta chip off all the slag when it's cool, but it turned out pretty good. And I tacked this piece up here to keep it straight so it doesn't warp. Alright, there's the bracket all cleaned up and painted. Turned out good. So, I guess that's the end of this video, guys. Stay tuned for more. Hit subscribe if you want to, and give the video a like. See you in the next one.